This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, where we help women remove the overwhelm of living their most holistic life. This is the place to find evidence-based nutrition tactics, healthy lifestyle and wellness tips, abundance mindset, and easily implementable low-tox living strategies so you can rise up to your full potential and protect your family's health. I'm your host, Stacey Heine, certified holistic nutritionist and better living advocate. Now, let's get empowered with some simple swaps that make a big impact for optimal wellness.
If you've been around here at the Urban Pharmacy for any length of time, you know that holistic living is more than just eating right and exercising. It has a lot to do with your belief system, your environment, connecting to earth, and so much more. And I want to let you know about some really exciting news that I have. I have created a membership program just for you to remove the overwhelm of living your most holistic life. Holistic Mama Society doors are officially open. All you have to do is click down in the show notes to register and start in a community of rising women and help you along your way to stepping into your ultimate wellness. We cover plant-based nutrition and cooking. We cover mindset. We cover environment, connecting to earth, even using herbs as medicine, and so much more. If you are tired of feeling sick and tired, and if you want a community of women that are stepping into their purpose and living a life of alignment and harmony, the Holistic Mama Society is for you. Again, the doors are officially open, and I can't wait to see you on the other side. It's episode 72 of the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, and today's guest is Kai Davies. As I was just telling you, your environment has a lot to do with your success. And Kai and I sit down and talk about how your internal environment and your interior design impact your mind and your psychology and your success. After years of studying both psychology and interior design, it became really clear to Kai just how important the surroundings were to our overall well-being and how often we overlook the space that we live in as a cause for many of life's stressors. Because of this, Kai's interior design philosophy revolves around creating beautiful, livable spaces that bring balance to your lifestyle. Kai worked with a variety of clientele who struggle with visualizing their space in ways that align with their design aspirations and who feel overwhelmed with making all of the design decisions and who need clear creative direction to make the designing of their space seamless, but more importantly, fun. I think you're going to love this episode. And if you do, please make sure that you give us a review so that we can keep rising to the top of holistic living podcasts. I'll see you on the flip side. I hope you love this episode. Be well. Kai Davies, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so a little backstory. Kai and I met online. I was seeking a gal that knows about interior design, and it just so happens that she knows a little bit more than just design, but she also knows the psychology of how your environment impacts your mentality. And that is actually exactly what I was looking for, because what I love to teach here at the Urban Pharmacy and what is one of the pillars at the Urban Pharmacy is your success environment. And your success environment doesn't just include the way that your house looks and your social circle, but it also includes the things that you have within your everyday environment that you can see how things are set up and the flow of the energy, if you will. And success environment is a very loaded topic, but your surroundings, your actual living quarters have a lot to do with your happiness, your stress levels, and all of that. So Kai, you were the perfect person to chat with about this today.
Thank you.
So yes, for sure. So before we get in today, explain and tell our listeners a little bit about you.
Yes. So like you said, my name is Kai. I currently live just outside of downtown Seattle. I received my undergrad degree in psychology. And while I was studying and almost graduating, I decided to study abroad in Spain. And it was the first time that I had ever left the country. And while I was there, I was taking a history of art in Spain course. And through that course, I learned so much about, the culture and the history. And then I would step outside of class and I would be walking around and being able to experience that as well. And that was like the first time that I really understood like how the designs of things really impacted the way that you feel. And I was so fascinated by that. And when I first found out about environmental psychology, it was something that like really lit me up because for me, I was so fascinated with psychology in general, and just understanding, why humans are the way that they are and the way that we think and we feel. And I knew that I didn't want to do like an actual like position. As much as that is so needed and so, important, I needed something that was more creative. And so that led me to study and get my master's degree in interior design, where I focused heavily on the topic of environmental psychology. Specifically, my thesis was on, color application and children and how that really affects their way of learning, and things like that. But through my studies, I really understood individually all of these different cases that gave us data, right? That I now do my due diligence and try to implement into my design solutions for my clients, because all of them together create this holistic approach that encourage positive energy in your everyday life.
So good. So this is like literally what I am fascinated by as well. I don't know a lot about psychology. I mean, I know about psychology in terms of habits and in terms of
like more logical approach.
Wellness. Yeah. In terms of wellness and like food addiction.
Okay.
And just an addiction in general, but I don't know a lot about the psychology of our space. I do know that there's definite science behind having houseplants, which is why I have so many of them.
I know, I noticed that. They're so cute.
Thank you. I have houseplants everywhere. Which we can dive into in terms of like color and what that means. And I do know that like having outside elements being brought in has a lot to do, like, it impacts our psyche so much.
Sure.
And I've even dove into feng shui, which I'm not sure if you know about, but I mean, you're talking about like the energy of a room and the energy of a space and how that impacts us. First off, before we just get into like generalized stuff, can you explain to me a little bit more about like kids and learning and what you found through your studies with that? Like just some generalized like tips for moms that might be listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny because there's so much on color theory as a whole, right? And we've all heard like, red typically is like danger or, means stop, or we have all these connotations as an adult on color that I was finding. Specifically, I paired Jean Piaget's developmental theory, where I focused on the pre-operational stage. So ages in his studies that is ages 2 to 7. So it was his idea that the brain is different at each stages of life. And we know that too as adults, right? However, it's this like connotations that we learn when we age that we tend to associate with color. And so with all the studies and findings that I was reading and learning about, I actually found that there was evidence to infer that children in the pre-operational stages, ages 2 to 7, did not have those connotations. So they didn't feel like red was like this bad color, or they didn't really understand that, you know, the colors that we might associate feelings or you know, feelings with, then you know, how does that open that up, right? How are we then able to apply color in a way, in a space that's going to, you know, excite them, energize them, let them thrive when they don't have necessarily these, again, connotations with these colors? So I played around with different color applications. So whether that was, you know, spatial, so the walls, you know, playing with, you know, full color walls, right? Or like completely encompassed where like everything is green. Like there's just like a room full of green. Like what does that do? And like, so it was really playful in the way of me being able to kind of expand on, you know, my studies with that. And it was, you know, I wish that I was able to actually conduct a study where I was actually able to, you know, test out with my little students that could, you know, tell me a little bit more information. However, you know, just pairing the studies that I was finding with, you know, Jean Piaget's developmental theory, you know, so it was so fun. But yeah, just, you know, playing around with color, definitely color is great. Color is something that, you know, brings a space to life and can be used as a tool for children to learn and to thrive in their environment. Yeah.
Love that. Okay. So let's dive a little bit into us as adults and when we're designing a space, how does color impact us?
Yeah. So it gets a little bit more analytical when you get to being an adult, right? Because I feel like in a space meant for, you know, your brain at, you know, a child level, it gets a little bit more not as like whimsical. And so you have to be careful with color. I think color is great in a space as an adult, but you do have to be careful with it because it does have limitations to your space, right? So depending on the color that you're using and the way that you're using it, it can affect the way of your space, the size, how it feels. You know, it has the power to make a space feel smaller or larger if you use it in the right way. So there's, like I said, there's so many different elements that come into play that I try as a designer to, you know, study and understand so that when you do come to me as a client or that you are taking me on to help you with your space, that you're not the one that's having to think about that, but I'm the one that is, you know, utilizing it in a way that is going to be the most beneficial to you.
Hey friend, from the previous message, you know I'm all about that low tox life, and Portland Bee Balm is no different. Beyond the amazing quality of their balm, Portland Bee Balm is committed to creating sustainable products, which is hugely important to me. They're members of the 1% for the planet, which means they donate 1% of revenue to organizations tackling our planet's most pressing environmental issues. And this is amazing. Products that are useful, natural, and add value to people's lives and the world. Portland Bee Balm provides the best hydration for your lips with clean and simple ingredients. I use a lip balm every morning and evening after I wash my face, and Portland Bee Balm has so many different varieties of scents, but my favorite is the Oregon Mint, which is so fresh and clean. The ingredients they source, the packaging,
that they use all support health and well-being to the environment and community. It's so awesome. Go to portlandbeebalm.com and use this code StacyHeine for 20% off your first order. Are there any specific colors that are having colors, whether they be on our wall or like in terms of furniture or decoration, that might make us feel more or less stressed or more or less productive? Is there anything behind that with color?
Yes, there's definitely things behind that. In terms, I mean, like I said earlier, like red is such a huge, like to us, like a no-no color. Like it's like very much, related to, stop signs, danger, wrong way, you got a bad grade on a test, like very negative connotations. So I think red in your space as an adult is triggering and can be triggering. There's also studies where like, orange and yellow and those kinds of colors in your space can be really energizing and could even like influence you in a way that like even like it triggers your physiology, so it can make you hungry. So there's like a lot of Orange Theory, the gym class, like literally everything is orange because it's been studied and proven that it triggers like a physiological effect in your body to give you that motivation and like make you feel energized and fun, like, ready to get a sweat going. So there's a bunch of different things with different colors and the way, and, you can use those studies as a tool to help you implement and create a space that is the best for you. But in terms of like negativity, there's definitely things there. And it's so important to do your research before you implement a color in the way that you want to, because it could very well have a negative effect.
Backfire. Yeah. So good colors would be like blue.
Good colors.
Yeah.
Green
and
blues and warm colors. So like warmer whites. There's still like so many whites, like so many clients are like, I want to pay I want to use white, but there's like literally thousands of whites. So I always like, to me, my own personal style is like very much connected to nature, like I love neutrals, like, but in terms of like creating contrast with like natural materials. So like warm woods, woven textures, like, plants, like you said. And plants are so great because not only is the color green, right? But it's also a direct connection to nature. And it's the reason why you love them so much is actually a phenomenon called biophilia. And it's really like bringing the outside in and connection to nature. Humans thrive. Your brain thrives on that. And so you feel this like relaxed because nature and like being outside grounds us and allows for our stress levels and feelings of anxiety reduce. So that is why, and that's another reason why green, number one, is such a great color too, and blues and stuff, because those are direct colors that you see like literally when you step out your door. And that's also why a lot of, those colors are used in the healthcare system, if you've ever noticed that.
Okay. I haven't, but that's it. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's probably why like feng shui, even though there's not like, I mean, you can look up like medical literature, on it, but it's just an old ancient practice, but it works because you have all the elements. You have a water element, you have an earth element, you have a metal element, you have a wood element, and you have living things like plants. So that's something that I teach my clients about, like feng shui, even though I'm not a master.
Yeah.
I don't understand like the orientation with north and south and east and west, which maybe you want to get into. You're like, nope, I don't either. But like,
I'm like, I use GPS like every day.
Yeah, I know. Right. But like, yeah, I mean, it goes even into like, you know, you want to have your entry point of your house to be like facing the north, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, oh my gosh, well, I guess I have to build my house now, like just based off of this method. But okay. So as you're organizing a space, Kai,
Sure.
what are the top things that you do when you're organizing a room in general? And like, obviously, I'm sure that you're designing in a way that you want people to feel good in the space that they have, because we spend a majority of our life living in it. Yeah. So what are some of the things that you're doing, maybe in terms of like setting furniture up, or like, again, like we said, like colors, like where do we even begin if we want to make our home and our space a place of tranquility and a place that we really love?
Sure. So number one is I always understand like the function of the space. So like, what are you using it for, right? Is it an office? Is it a living room? Is it your bedroom? So once that's decided, then it helps me understand like, okay, then what are the prime things that need to be happening in this space, and what is going to facilitate that in a way that's going to best benefit you. And so then those kinds of things really help you narrow down the way your furniture is placed, the way circulation's happening. How are you going to walk around the space? Are there doors? Like, do you have to be opening a door? Do you have to be, is there supposed to be like a certain number of clearance? Like, are you in a living room and you're going to be, you want this space to be where you're cozying up with your family and watching a movie. So obviously that's going to determine the orientation of the sofa that's happening. Right. So that's really where I always start, is like the more functional logistical elements of a space. And that kind of helps determine how all the other aesthetic pieces are going to come into play. Mm-hmm. And then I also take into account my client's style, right? So everyone has their own personal style. Your home is a reflection of who you are. So you want that to feel aligned. And so those are like the first two things that I bring in. And then once those things are determined, then I start bringing in, the principles and the elements that I know to be true and proven. And how do you apply that in the space in terms of like also looking at fundamentals of design which are form and function. So, scale, and looking at different elements that make up design in general. Mm-hmm. So it's like a big puzzle piece. Yeah. And so you just start kind of putting all the pieces together, and then that is really how you start working mm-hmm. to finish a space. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, let's say we want to design an office mm-hmm. that's going to help us be productive. That's the function that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Productivity, and not stressed.
Yep.
Where do we start with that?
I know that's kind of a loaded question, because coming from as an entrepreneur myself, stress is that is like something that like everyone says, like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's just an element, right? But and that's not saying that these things that you bring into your space, it's going to magically make it go away. Mm-hmm. However, it's going to dramatically help you and continue to help you grow in a way that's going to make you feel empowered when you do have those moments of stress, and when you do have those deadlines that you need to hit and those to-do lists that you need to cross off. So number one, I just want to, say that as like a little, disclaimer, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it's number one, functional, right? Because that's the first thing that we think about when we're using, a home office space, is like, how do we facilitate growth and productivity and reduce stress levels? And number one is to get organized. And so whether that is literally creating organization where you are, have a desk that, holds all of the things that you need. And it also helps that it would be a bonus. I know that like functionality doesn't tend to be like as pretty, but it is a bonus if you get a desk that is aligned to your aesthetic, right?
Oh, you're pointing to a treadmill. Yeah.
Yeah. And so number one, get organized. And then also like, again, with color application, like if you bring in color, and you don't literally have to paint the walls to bring in color. I mean, like a lot of the things when I work with home offices, is a lot of the women that I work with, they're also, have their own businesses. And so I take a look at their brand, right? Like, what colors do you use in your brand? Like, what makes you like feel so connected to this business that you have, blood, sweat, and tears into, that's going to really light you up in the space that you feel aligned in. It makes you feel like the badass that you are, right? So it's like taking those into consideration as well. And how do you implement the brand within the space? So just like as an example, one gal that I did her home office with, she loves, like, she had like, her colors are like these like awesome bright, like literally like neon orange and like really awesome blues, and even like some black, and like a fun black, it was kind of like speckled pattern. And I literally found a wallpaper that was that black speckled pattern, and we put that on one of the walls. And then we did like a fun like color block right behind her desk that was like that bright orange that really lights her up. And so now when she talks, and she also had behind her, she got her own branded signage.
Oh yeah.
And so now when she has her clients and she's like talking, when she has meetings, and she has all that behind her, and she just like, it's like so cohesive to like her and her brand, and it just makes her feel like, this is my business,
right?
I don't know if I could start. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I'm the badass that I know that I am, and I've built this from the ground up, and now I can walk into this space, and not only like, because a lot of us are in this online space, and you look at these Instagrams, and you look at these landing pages, and you look at these websites that you spend so much time building, and the presence that you want to
ensue or something.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That when others come to you, and you spend so much time building that, but then a lot of the time in like the actual physical space, it's like, wah, wah, like, what
I know. Yeah.
So it's really, really, really so much fun for me when I get to do a home office, because I get to like bring that to the physical space, and creating an environment for these women, and business owners in general, that they can walk into and then see it as well. Like, you are literally engulfed in it. So
right.
So that's another like huge thing, is like, how does the space connect to what you're doing? Right. So we want to create that connection so that it really, empowers you, like I said prior. And anyways, so I like feel like I'm like totally rambling.
No, yeah.
Yeah, but so definitely, literally getting organized and making sure that you're, having furniture pieces and, storage elements and things that are going to reduce clutter, because clutter is a huge, huge connection to feelings of anxiety, stress. So I'm not saying that you can never have your space be messy. Like, that's unrealistic. However, like, it's important to have these elements in place that like even though things are messy and things are out on the desk and there's books on the floor and there's, things happening, they all have a home. And they all know, like, you are able to pick up and put it away and be like, okay, I'm going to reset and I'm going to clean my space and I'm going to, when you literally, I love this saying, it's like, declutter your space, declutter your mind. And so that's another, huge element. So
yeah, so important. That environment and mind connection. It's just huge. Okay. So organization wise, regardless if it's, in our office or anywhere in our house, like, I feel like there's so many different organizational tubs and tools and like, do you have any rules in terms of like, do you think that we need to go to the Container Store and get all the things in order to have successful organization?
No, I don't think, yes, the Container Store is amazing. I actually was there the other day and I was like, wow, this is so great. But like, do I think that, you have to like be militant on like getting organized and like labeling everything and like, no, I don't think that you need to feel stressed about feeling stressed. I think that like sometimes adds a little bit of another layer of like the things that you're supposed to do and feeling like you like have to like adhere to these rules, right? No, these are just guidelines. And that's the thing I love about design is because it's not a one size fits all. And it's not like, you have to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. However, if you make sure that you hit step 1 and you hit step 2 and you hit step 3 in some way that feels good to you, that's success in my book and that's in my professional opinion as well. Yeah.
So true. Like you can follow all of the experts and they can tell you their methods and that is great. And I think that you as a listener, and I'm talking to myself as well, like you can implement these methods, but like, if it doesn't feel good to you and you feel like it's forced and it feels maybe confusing or overwhelming, just find what works for you. And I don't know if you know who Andrew Mellon is, but he quotes himself as the most organized man in America. And he was on this podcast and he was just like, look, everything has to have its place. And that's exactly what you said. Like everything has to have its own home.
Yeah.
Like everything has to have its own home. Otherwise you're going to feel stressed about it. And it doesn't have to be one way or the other. Like it doesn't have to be like this goes in that drawer or this goes in that drawer. Like if you want to keep all of your pencils in the garage, like keep all of your pencils in your garage, but like, you got to know where everything is. Like,
yeah.
And that's, I think, huge. Okay.
Yeah.
So what other tips do you have for us, like in terms of environment and interior design, just anything that's coming off of, out of your head that you feel would add value?
Yeah. So, I feel like a broken record when I say this, and I literally talk about this all the time on my own personal Instagram, but it's like creating a connection to nature. And, in light of the last 2 years, we are now seeing like how trendy it is to now be like, number one, the color palettes, like it's very like neutrals and green and, the olive green and like even, like having fun, like accented, like a statement chair, right? That's like in a really awesome olive velvet or something really awesome. But then having like fairly neutral elements, not like around it. And just creating that connection to nature is going to be so important. And we're seeing a lot of organic shapes emerging right now. So like the irregular shaped wall mirrors are like huge, and like having fun irregular shaped coffee tables or like little cocktail tables and things like that. So it's trending right now, and so many people, in light of the pandemic, everyone is now looking for an outlet, right? Because the last 2 years, they have been very, very, very stressful. And so that is why you're seeing these emerge, especially in your environment, because these are the things that have been studied. These are the things that have been proven to literally reduce those feelings of stress and anxiety is, having a connection to nature in some form in your house.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So Kai, explain to me, where can we find you? And on social media, or like, do you work virtually with people?
I do. Yeah, I do work virtually. And you can find me on my Instagram, which is at Balanced Interior. I also have a website at www.balancedinterior.com. And those are the best ways to connect with me. So I do work virtually with people as well, though, too, which is really great because I have the ability to work with, people from all over the United States and even some parts of Canada.
Love it. Awesome. Perfect. Well, when we build on our farm, I might be asking you because like you're just, I don't see a lot of interior designers talking about the importance of bringing outside in. Like this is something that I think that you really do understand on a deep level. And it's like your niche, like it's because you just understand psychology so much and you understand how much the human psyche can be impacted from nature and the benefits of it.
Yeah, exactly. And just, being able to understand all of the different individual case studies that are happening. And that's the thing too, is like, I'm really trying to bridge the gap in the residential design space because right now, environmental psychology, although is being implemented in the ways that I'm telling you, in light of the past 2 years, it has really, come on the map more, which is great. But it's still very much in the realm of like science and data. And so I'm really trying to bridge the gap between everyday people being able to create spaces and implement these principles into their very own home. And, a lot of the time this has already been a thing for, years, especially in like commercial design spaces, because like there's a lot more, funding available to, implement these things. And however, but the core of these principles, when you take away all of the layers and the jargon, the scientific jargon, right, that is, tied to these, it can be accessible to anyone. And so that is really what I am trying to do here at Balanced Interior.
I love it. It's so important. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for sharing your message. We appreciate you. And we all will be following you and getting all of your tips and tricks. So thank you so much, Kai.
Thank you. I will talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Be well.
I'm over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of The Urban Pharmacy. For today's show notes, head on over to theurbanpharmacy.com and be sure to join us inside our private Facebook group called The Urban Pharmacy, where we share inspiration, live trainings, and holistic living tips to help you build community and the healthy lifestyle that you've always wanted. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Before we connect again on the next show, follow me on Instagram at The Urban Pharmacy. That's urban with an H and pharmacy with an F. And I can't wait to hear your wellness journey as we get to know each other better. There's truly no better time than now to level up your life. And I am so proud of you for showing up today. Until next time, be well, Health Crusader.